still swirl about the fate of the X-Men.
The X-Men are dead. But it's less a question about where, when. What are you talking about?
The X-Men animated shows, both the classic from 92 to 97 and the new X-Men 97, have brought in tons of awesome mutants, but there are still a few fan favorites I'd really love to see show up. Starting with Psylock. Psylock's actually a name used by two connected characters in the X-Men world. Both are mutants, basically people born with a special gene that gives them superpowers. The original Psylock is Betsy Braddock, a British telepath who first showed up as a side character in her twin brother Brian's stories. She later joins the X-Men and takes on the Psylock name. At one point, she ends up in the body of a Japanese ninja named Quanon. Yep, wild twist, which was explained later as a body swap. After nearly 3 decades of that setup, they eventually switched back to their original bodies. Betsy became Captain Britain, and Quanon took over as the new Psylock. Her story is seriously cool, and I'd love to see her show up in Season 2. Another cool character is Legion, aka David Charles Haller. He's actually the mutant son of Charles Xavier and Gabrielle Haller. Back when Xavier was working at a psychiatric facility in Israel, he met Gabrielle, one of the patients. They had a short relationship that ended on good terms, but she never told him she was pregnant. David grew up in Paris with his mom and his godfather, Daniel Shamran. Tragically, when their home was attacked by anti-Semitic terrorists, David's powers kicked in for the first time. He ended up frying the minds of the attackers. In the chaos, he also absorbed the mind of the lead terrorist, Jamail Karami, and went catatonic for years. As he started to recover, David was sent to Moira McTaggart's facility on Muir Island. Because of the trauma, and maybe his powers, he developed dissociative identity disorder, with each of his personalities having its own mutant ability. Karami, the telepathic one, spent years trying to bring order to David's mind and get him out of the catatonic state. Some alters resisted, like Jack Wayne, a bold adventurer type with telekinesis, and Cindy, a fiery, rebellious personality who could control fire. Those three, Karami, Jack, and Cindy, became the dominant voices in his mind. This character's super cool and complex. I'd love to see them pop up in X-Men 97. I actually got hooked on him from the Legion series, totally fell in love with the show. Fingers crossed they make it into Season 2. Another one I'd love to see in the show is Surge. She was totally set up to be the leader for the next-gen X-Men when she was introduced back in the mid-2000s. In the second volume of New X-Men, she was basically the main character and had all the qualities of a future team leader. Her powers? Classic electricity manipulation, but with a twist. They also let her think at super speed, which made her insanely effective in battle. She really had the potential to be one of the most powerful and dangerous heroes of her era. But timing wasn't on her side. Right after her debut, Marvel kicked off M-Day, and although she kept her powers, the focus shifted back to older, more established mutants. By the time Utopia came around, she was barely getting any attention, and her appearances in the Krakoa era have been pretty rare too. The animated show could be the perfect chance to finally give Surge the spotlight she deserves. Another character who totally deserves some screen time is Monae St. Croix. She first showed up in Generation X, one of the most beloved X-Men lineups, and she's basically what you'd get if you mashed up Emma Frost with Superman. Monae's powers are stacked. She's got telepathy, telekinesis, super strength, speed, flight, and she's nearly invincible. On top of that, she comes from a wealthy royal background, so she carries herself with a whole lot of confidence, borderline arrogance, honestly, but that's part of what makes her so fun to watch in a team dynamic. Having Monae on any X-Men squad instantly brings some serious muscle and a bit of tension. She's never really broken out beyond the comics, probably because she came from some of the more niche 90s titles, and let's be real, she's not always the warmest character. But she's got so much potential, and the animated series could be the perfect place to finally let her shine. Another character who seriously deserves more love is Mirage, aka Danielle Moonstar. She started out as part of the New Mutants, and honestly, she's one of the coolest X-Men out there, even if she doesn't always get the spotlight. At first, Her main power was creating super-realistic illusions, but over time, she leveled up big time and became one of the Valkyries. That means she can tap into some serious mystical power when things get intense. On top of that, she always had strong leadership vibes. She even helped teach the next wave of young mutants at Xavier's school before M-Day hit. Despite all that, Mirage has mostly flown under the radar. Outside of the comics, she barely gets more than a quick background cameo, and even in the X-Men universe, she's often pushed aside in favor of the bigger names. Right now, she's tied up with the Heir of Apocalypse storyline, but there's no clear plan for her after the Krakoa era. The animated series could totally fix that. She's got the experience, the powers, and the presence. She just needs a chance to shine. Next up is Joshua Foley, better known as Elixir, probably the most powerful mutant healer the X-Men have ever had. He first showed up in New Mutants alongside other Academy X characters like Hellion and Surge, and came with a pretty complicated backstory. At first, he was mainly known for his healing abilities, but his real power is biokinesis, which basically means he can control life and death itself. That's how he eventually got labeled as an Omega-level mutant. Before the whole Krakoa era, he had already done some wild stuff, like regrowing Prodigy's heart, experimenting with resurrection with some messy results, and even using his powers to give enemies deadly tumors while working with X-Force. On Krakoa, he joined the Five, playing a key role in the resurrection protocols that brought fallen mutants back to life. Despite how insanely powerful he is and how complex his character arc could be, Elixir hasn't had much time in the spotlight lately. It's been years since he had a real storyline or even much dialogue, even though he's got the potential to be either a major hero or a dangerously powerful villain. The animated show could totally dig into that and give him the depth he's been missing in recent stories. Lastly, I have a mutant named Chamber. Mutants and tragedy kind of go hand in hand, and few characters prove that more than Jono Starsmore, aka Chamber. When his X gene kicked in, it basically blew up the lower half of his face and chest, leaving behind a furnace of raw psionic energy where his body used to be. Brutal start, right? Jono was part of the original Generation X lineup and later took on the role of instructor at different versions of Xavier's school. Despite everything, he's always had huge untapped potential. Some have even speculated he could hit Omega-level status someday. The thing is, he's never really gotten the push or spotlight to explore that fully. He's mellowed out a bit over time and become a solid mentor figure, but it's been way too long since we've seen him really challenged or forced to take full control of his powers. A return in the animated series could be the perfect time to give Chamber that overdue glow-up. Well, that's it for today. Which mutant do you most want to see make their animated debut in X-Men 97? Or did I miss someone you think totally deserves the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button for more updates on X-Men and other awesome upcoming shows and movies, and I'll catch you next time.